you. Thank you. So really, I tried to pick out the things that have made the most difference to me, that I have seen be the most impactful. Probably going to throw in some bonuses, so you might get 6. We'll see. But ultimately, like, just, again, thank you to every member of this community, to everyone watching, and just so grateful for you, because you guys are why I Lit Up Life exists. You're what makes this work mean anything at all to me, and I'm just so grateful for you. Hi, Lisa. Oh, it's so good to see you. Well, see you. You know, you get me. Thank you. So excited. It's like crazy to process 4 years. So let's dive in. Okay, so the first one I'm going to share is kind of interesting, because I would have found this difficult to believe 4 years ago, but now I just like know it to be true. Like, it is a fact. Like, I feel like I need clapping emojis, like, know it to be true, which is build the container first and then focus on your mindset. And so here's what I mean by build the container first and then focus on your mindset, which is, excuse me, at the beginning of your business, there are a lot of containers you have to build. Like, for example, like, you know, even the container of like, where are my people going? Like, obviously I had to build this group, like the container of having a program and a website and, you know, a message and a mission and like all of the things, right? A content rotation, a content plan, all of that, right? I had to build those containers at the beginning of my business, as does everyone else. But what I have found to be true is that's how business gets easier and easier, is that the containers you built should continue to serve you for a long time, right? When people aren't scaling or aren't making the money they want to make, it's typically because they keep building and burning down the containers they've created. What I feel like I have done so well in A Lit Up Life is building something and then making it work for me. It doesn't mean we never test and tweak it or anything like that, but building something that you can then funnel people into and make work for you, and you know, you can test and tweak and make better, is truly how business gets easier and easier. Like, to this day, my business has become so easy because I have built those containers and then I focused on the mindset. Hey, Debbie, thank you. Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for being part of it. Hey, Raquel, thank you. So what I mean by that is, like, I still use some of the content I wrote 4 years ago. Like, I'll still repurpose a challenge I used 3 years ago. Like, I'll still use the same content planning process that I created 4 years ago. Like, all of that is what makes things get simpler. What I have to work on is like being the person who has to evolve, being the CEO, being the person thinking at a higher level, operating at a higher level, letting myself receive more and more, letting myself feel comfortable impacting more and more. Like, the containers don't have to shift all that much, but I have to do a lot of shifting to grow them. Does that make sense? So if you look at like your favorite influencer, it's not like they maybe even have stuff you don't have. Like, they probably have some like programs and like a DIY product, and like they probably have a place you can connect with them, like on Instagram or a Facebook group or a mailing list. They probably have an opt-in, right? They have a website, like whatever. They don't have all these extravagant things you don't have. They may have like a nicer version of a website, but often not even that, right? Nor do I think that it has to be that. What they're doing is they're evolving who they're being, and they're letting more and more people come into their space, and they're filtering more and more people in, and they're focused on that. When you're always trying to rebuild containers while you grow, it gets so chaotic and it gets so heavy. And so anyway, one of the biggest lessons I learned was build the container and then focus on the mindset. So for me, it's looked like being in the mindset of like stepping more into my power, stepping more into my CEO role, focusing more on how to get the people we want in those containers, feeling more into how I can be more confident in what I'm sharing and what I'm doing, how we're capturing all of the results we're getting in those containers, and how I'm thinking about my business and how I'm showing up in my business and who I'm being in my business, right? And so I look back at the me from 4 years ago, and I'm like so grateful to her that she did those things and created those containers. And I know that because of that right now, my business gets easier and easier and my focus is more and more on who I'm being. So if you're listening to this, no matter what stage of business you're at, if you're like already over 6 figures, if you're just starting out, know that building the containers that serve you long term is the best investment you can make in your business. And then from there, focusing on mindset is the thing that will make the difference. I've taken so many clients at this point from 0 to 6 and 7 figures, and that's exactly what this looks like. Like the containers get easy. Like I could whip out a challenge tomorrow with like my eyes closed, but I probably don't even have to because I probably have 10 that I've already done sitting there. The difference is my confidence, my mindset, my ability to show up, my ability to receive, my ability to control my thoughts, my ability to think about things differently is what has shifted, right? Yes. Hey, Carrie. She says yes to this. Congrats and so much yes. They may not have different stuff than you, but they do have a different being. Exactly. And I think that that's the part people miss so much. They're like trying to hack what the person, that's like so far ahead of them is doing. And like the containers aren't usually what's different. It's how that person is showing up. It's who they're being. It's like really like entirely what they're thinking about their business and how they're showing up in it. And so that has just been such a beautiful lesson for me. And when people talk about ease, like that's what they mean. Like I have such an incredible amount of ease in the running of my business now. And all of my discomfort is in stretching myself on who I am being. And that's not a bad thing. That is such a magnificent, great thing. And so give yourself the gift of setting really strong foundations and containers, but don't keep building them up and burning them down. Build the container and then let it get easier and easier to run your business and let it get more focused and more and more focused on who you are showing up as in your business and who you are being in your business. Does that make sense? It's good shit, right? Which transitions to my next point. I could probably do like a separate live stream on all of these things. So I'm going to try to condense them, which you guys know I'm bad at, but we're going to do the best we can. And then if there's one that you guys want to hear a ton more about, I can do a separate live stream on it. But so my next one is what I call finding neutral. And I talk to my clients about this like literally all the time. And it has been one of the greatest lessons I've learned by far in business. And I think it's one of the things that I see as a turning point for a lot of my clients when they really, really are able to like blow shit up. Hey, Monica. Oh, so good to see you. A turning point for a lot of my clients when they're really able to blow shit up, which is finding neutral. So what do I mean by finding neutral? What I really see to be true, like so often, is that so few people are actually making strategic decisions in their business at all. Like at all. And a lot of people think they are. And a lot of people will spend a ton of time on strategy. But I see like the most smallest, minuscule percentage of people in business actually making strategic choices in their business because they're almost always making emotionally based decisions in their business that are not strategic and that are based on the emotion they're feeling at the time. Right? So let me give you an example. Like, I all of a sudden, like have a big expense come up in my life. It really stresses me out. So then I look at the business and I start trying to make decisions to make more money really quick because I have this expense and it's really stressing me out. And that person might argue, well, I'm being really strategic because I have this expense and now I'm going to try to go figure out how to make more in the business. And I would be like, no, you're not being strategic at all. You just had a big trigger. You had a big reaction to it. And now you're throwing that reaction at your business. And you're like, perform for me, business. Fix my uncomfortable emotion. Fix my situation, right? You're not at all going, does this strategically actually make sense based on what I've been doing, what I've been promoting, what my audience has been asking for, blah, 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 blah. Does it actually strategically make sense to go sell this thing next? And like so few people do that. And I'll even give you a different example, which is like an emotional thing. Like one of your clients comes to you and they're having a really bad week, or maybe multiple of your clients are having a bad week on the same week, which by the way is just life and humans being humans. And that's really uncomfortable for you. And so then you're like, you know what? I'm not doing one-on-one anymore. Fuck this one-on-one, forget one-on-one. Like, I'm just not supposed to do one-on-one anymore. It's too stressful. I'm going to do a group program. And you'll be like, I'm being strategic because I can't do this anymore. And so the strategic thing to do is have a group program. It may or may not be strategic. It's just completely irrelevant to a few of your clients having a bad week and making you uncomfortable, right? Hey, Lisa, you say you do have ease with running your business. It's what I admire most about you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So that's what I mean. Like, so few of us are making strategic decisions. So the thing I have challenged myself to, and that I'm always challenging my clients to, is to find neutral. So I will never ever make a business decision from an emotionally triggered place. So if that thing happened where like all my clients were having a bad week, I would never make a decision in my business that week that affected the long-term strategy or even the short-term strategy, quite honestly. If that big personal expense came up, I would never make a decision in my business that week until I was at neutral about it and could make a neutral decision about what was the best thing for my business. Because for me, that is the most important part, because it is actually what allows my business to grow and scale in a strategic way. When my business is growing and scaling based on the emotional landscape I have in the moment, it's never growing in a really strategic way. And sometimes it might work out and sometimes it might not. But if I can get to neutral first and then make a decision from there, I'm 10 out of 10 times more likely to make a decision that both supports me and supports the business, right? If I'm making it from a place of trigger and from, challenge and scarcity and all of these things and discomfort and whatever, it, like, almost 10 times out of 10, it's not the same decision I would have made, right? So like, say the decision, when you have the expenses, like, go sell a bunch of shit. Well, like, maybe I already had a launch plan for the next week and I need to calm my ass down and see that strategy through. You know what I mean? Like, most of the time I wouldn't make a strategic decision to just like go throw shit out, right? Secondarily, like for the clients thing, 9 times out of 10, I'm like never going to make the same choice there. If my clients are all having a bad week and then the next week it's fine, I'm like, I love one-on-one. Of course I don't want to do that. Right? And so the point of finding neutral is that you can still make whatever decision you want to make, but if you're coming from that neutral place, you're actually getting to make decisions that serve you. I always try to think of myself as like the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business that is not my own, right? Like if I was the CEO of a multi-million-dollar corporation, I wouldn't go in there and be like, hey, I had a personal expense come up, let's make some fucking sales this week. That would make no sense. Like, I would have to check my personal shit at the door and come in and make the most strategic choice for that business. And obviously I don't want to work for someone else, but that is the benefit of working for someone else sometimes, is that you don't bring as much of your own shit to the table as you do in your own business. But if you can make that deal with yourself that you find neutral first, it's so transformative in how strategic you can actually be in your business. Like, I mean, not to make it a big call out, but like, can I like get an emoji if you're like feeling me on this? Because I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough. And I feel like it's one of those things that's like under the covers in business, but it's like the biggest game changer. Like, I bet if most people looked back on the decisions they made at the beginning of their business, 9 out of 10 of them weren't strategic. They were entirely emotionally driven, right? And then it's so frustrating because you're like, why am I not strategically growing? Well, because you're never making the strategic decision. You're making the emotional decision, right? You can think of, times where I've made that decision in my business, and most of the time those don't work out. If you guys watched that live stream Megan and I did, my COO Megan and I did a little while ago, one of the things we talked about is that we have rules in our business, and one of the rules is there are no emergencies. It's like there are no problems and there are no emergencies, right? So we really try to come, and like, this is not just me, this is like expected of everyone on my team. Like, we come to things from a place of neutrality. We don't come to things like a chicken with our head cut off, with a big problem, with a lot of emotion invested, whatever. If something happens, cool. Like, you know, like if even Megan, for example, like if she has a bad week or she feels like, you know, she did something wrong in the business or something, whatever. I mean, I can't even imagine like something big enough, but like the point would be she would never make a decision in the business from that place ever. She would know like her job is to go like check her stuff. If, you know, if something happened, she needs to go work through that, or we need to go work through that. And we would never make a decision until we were both at neutral. Because there are no problems, there are no emergencies, and we don't make emotionally based decisions. Doesn't mean that your emotions can never come into your business, but when you're constantly making decisions on them, your business is going to constantly go like this. Because I don't know about you, but for me, my emotions are like this, like, and not in a bad way, like I'm a deeply feeling human kind of fucking way. You know what I mean? Can I get an amen if you're a deeply feeling human? And so when you're a deeply feeling human, it's kind of easy to do this all the time in your business. And sometimes those swings are rapid. And that's okay if you don't make the business choices based on this, right? If you're always making the business choices based on this, that's going to be the trajectory of your business. It's kind of that simple. So that has been a huge one for me. It's something I remind myself of all the time. It's something I challenge myself around all the time. Like I will always ask myself before I'm about to make a big decision in business, am I coming at this from neutral? And if the answer is no, that decision will get put off until I am. If that means 3 hours, 3 days, or 3 weeks, like that's a non-negotiable for me. And so I really think that it's what's helped create a lot of ease in my business is that I'm not ever picking up pieces from a decision that didn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like I'm not ever like, fuck, why did I do that? Like I can't even remember the last time I thought something like that in my business because I just won't allow myself to come from that place in my business. Does that make sense? Okay, so the next one is, it's just such a good one. Oh, hold on. Raquel says, it seems like this idea of getting to neutral in all areas of life feels counterintuitive, but really is the only way to move forward in a good way. Yeah, totally. I think Lisa says amen, deeply feeling human right here. Like same. Like such a deep level, right? Like I have all the feelings all the time, but my business doesn't have to. So I think that's so true. And Raquel, I think you're right. Like I think that I did this whole other live stream on dichotomy, right? Where like when you can find the dichotomy in your business where like it can be this and that. And I think it's true, like you can have emotions and feel them. Like I really believe in like feeling and processing your emotions and being in them and learning from them. The difference is I don't believe in reacting based on them all the time, because what I know for sure is that a lot of times my emotions are short-lived. It's just true, right? Like I can be like completely triggered in 1 minute and like fucking fine 20 minutes later. You know, Liz Gilbert says something like, just remember, I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, just remember, like emotions are like trying on clothes. Like you just take them on and off, right? And so if I'm like making a business decision based on what outfit I'm wearing that day, shit's going to be fucked up in my business. And the same is true with emotions. It doesn't mean I don't feel them and sit in them and process them and give them the attention they deserve. They just can't be the dictator of the actions I'm taking in my business. Like, so it's that dichotomy of like, they're important and they matter and they can be processed and they can live there, but they just can't be the dictator of all my decisions. And you're right. I think that's true in life in general for the most part, right? Amen. Perfect. Okay. So, Raquel, it's weird. It's like keeps telling me the comment is deleted. And then anyway, I just hope you know I'm not deleting your comments. I don't know what's happening. And Facebook's just going crazy. Okay. So the next one is pretty much like the foundation on which I've run my entire business. But, if I could give you one piece of advice, it'd probably be this one, which is get innovative and do it your own fucking way. Like, that's it. I could just turn the live stream off right now. But really, like most people that you probably look up to and that you see creating success are doing it because they're creating their own version of success. right? They're finding what works for them, what works for their strengths, what works for their people, what works for their business. And they're doing it differently, and they're willing to do it differently, and they're creating their own path. And then here's the fucking kicker. Who's ready for it? Okay, here's the kicker. Then they will build a course based on how they did it, and you'll think that's the only way. And they'll market it maybe even as that's the only way. And the truth is, the reason it worked for them is because they found their own way. That is like predominantly one of the top reasons that I don't sell courses in my business and that I'm not that into it. Because I just feel like it takes away the truth of the truth of the truth in business, which is like, you have to find your own path. You have to figure out what works for you. I feel like 98% of my clients that come to me, that's the work we do. And that's why my clients blow up, because everybody has a different way that really works for them. Are there fundamental things in business that are typically true, right? Like consistency and how you're looking at things, and do you have a strategy, and right, like basically mindset, strategy, and execution, right? But every client I have does it a little bit differently. And a lot of my clients have done it in a much more innovative way because they've had permission to do it that way, right? Because they've not felt like, well, I have to do it exactly how so-and-so did it. But here's the thing that like makes me like, again, not really into the courses and like makes me crazy when we think about it, is like, I don't know a ton of people that are like super, super successful that are like, well, I just follow so-and-so step-by-step process. That's how I got here. Right? They're like, I built my own way. I found my own way. I figured out what works for me. But then we're like, okay, cool, teach it to me. But what fundamentally they're saying is, I figured out what works for me. So you learning exactly what worked for them may or may not be helpful. You know what I mean? Sorry, I have to caffeine myself here. I don't think I actually need more caffeine. It just feels really good. But what I feel like I have been able to do in business, and why I feel like I'm still in business 4 years later, is I have just gotten so absolutely fucking grounded in doing it in the way that I want to do it and in my own way and doing what works for me. So for example, like, I'll just go, like, share with you some of that. Like, I really have built a business that doesn't exist in this industry. Like, I know nobody else with my business model. I know nobody else that I could look up to for it. I know nobody else with like a 5-step system for how to build my business. Like, none of it, right? Like, excuse me. When I first did the partnership where I was going to work with clients for a percentage of their revenue instead of a base rate, like, nobody else is doing that in our industry. In fact, nobody else is still doing that in our industry, right? When I changed, so initially when I launched Value-Centered Sales, my sales course, I did it as a regular launch, and I just like didn't enjoy running a big group. And so I changed it, and I do 3-person masterminds now. I don't know anybody else that does 3-person masterminds. It's like completely was based on like what I wanted and what felt good to me, right? And then adding a revenue share with my clients. So it's like a base rate plus revenue. Again, I don't know anybody else doing that. I don't know anybody else that has this model. It's what felt good to me because I wanted to scale a one-on-one business. Even my podcast, nobody else has a podcast like that. Nobody else is doing 6 months of coaching on a podcast. But here's what I want to be really, 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 really clear about. I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying, go do a 3-person mastermind, go take a revenue percentage, go do a podcast where people are watching you coach live. Those things just happen to work for me because of what my strengths are, because of what my skills are, because of what my goals are, and because what's important to me, and because they were the innovative ideas that came to me, right? What I am saying is get quiet enough and tune out the noise enough to listen to yourself and figure out what's right for you, or get a coach that will actually fucking hold your feet to the fire and support you in doing that, right? Instead of just telling you how they did it. Because that is the difference maker. Everything that's blown up my business has been an innovative idea, right? Every single thing that has made my business more fun, more enjoyable, and more scalable has been because I listened to myself and because I did it my own way. And I'll tell you that for so many of my clients that I'm thinking of, the same is true. Like, I can't pinpoint like, oh, my clients just do this one thing and they make money. The one fucking thing is they try to do something that other people aren't doing, right? Thank you, Nico. Oh, I so appreciate that. I love you back. And again, it's just not like, it's not the model in our industry. The model is somebody else creates success doing their thing, then they sell a course on it, then everybody else tries to do it how they did it, and then everybody's confused at why they're not creating success. And it's like fucking madness, to be perfectly honest, right? You have to give yourself permission to do it your own way. I just had a client who made, I think she made what, like 6 figures in sales in the last 2 months. And literally that was the thing. Like, she just had not given herself permission for it to be easy, for her to do it her own way, for her to make it work in the way that works for her to not do it how everybody else was doing it. And shit blew up when that finally happened, when she finally leaned into that innovative message that was hers, when she finally decided to do it her own way. Like, I mean, I can think of a million examples of this. This was just like a recent one. Not letting yourself be innovative and you're trying to follow everyone else's model and way of doing it, you're franchising a Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A, but I don't want to own one. I want to own my own business. Right? If you're looking to everyone else and you're trying to copy their exact model and you're going, well, I see how the partnership worked for Lacey, so I should do the partnership. You're missing the fucking point. You are absolutely missing the point. Right? The partnership didn't work for me because the partnership works. The partnership works for me because it was an innovative idea that completely supported my vision, my mission, and everything I care about and good at and the strengths I bring to the table. Right? So like, that is my call to you. Like, get quiet, listen to yourself, get innovative, or hire someone that will help you look at things in that way. Because it's the magic, I'm telling you. It is the fucking magic, right? Okay. Oh, I want to share something else here really quick. This is like a bonus. This is not a real one, but this is not a real point. This is not number 4. But really quickly, I made a little note to myself because I wanted to remember to share this, but it's worry about what you're taking home. So something that I feel really, really, really good about in my business is how we've scaled over the last 4 years. And ultimately, what I mean by how I've scaled over the last 4 years is just like how we've built up and how I feel like I've really been able to lean into building a scalable one-on-one model. I think the first year in business, I made a little over 6 figures. Second year, I think I made about 250. Third year, I think I made about 400, a little over 400. And this year, I think we'll make over 5, right? It's not like it is like this massive trajectory of like, oh my God, and then I made $2 million in 2.5 seconds. Although I will say I've had clients that have gone from 0 to $1 million relatively quickly. But like, again, like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for scalability and sustainability. And like, 500K is no joke, but the difference, and this is so important, and this is the point I want to make, is I worry about what I'm taking home. I don't give a fuck about my revenue. Obviously, I want my revenue to grow, but I'm so over everything in this industry being about revenue for revenue's sake, because I know a lot of people that make a lot of money and take home very little of it. And that is something I'm always concerned about, is like, what are my margins? What am I taking home? So in me building up to, like the 400, 500K mark, the difference is this. My margins are like 15%, top out at 15%. I'm taking home 85% of the money I make. That is like a really big, important deal. Or like, you could be making 2 million and you could be taking home less than 50% of that. It's still $1 million, so don't get me wrong, that's good. I'm just saying, like, you have to know the difference. Like, I know people that are making $1 million that I bring home more than. Right? And again, I'm not saying that's bad. Like, there's nothing broke about their business model necessarily, but like, that's the stuff you have to care about. Like, I think it would be easy to look at my growth of like 1, 250, 4 something, 5 something, and be like, oh, I want to grow faster than that. But like, the revenue is almost irrelevant. Ask what I'm bringing home, because that's the thing that impacts your life, your finances, your ability to continue to stay in business and grow. If you're making $1 million, but your margin's 85%, not 15, you're having a different lifestyle than I'm having at 500K. So my point is, any business model is amazing and works, but you got to be looking at what you take home. And that's why I feel so good about how we've scaled, because this year we'll add like probably about 100K or so, which doesn't seem like a lot, but we're adding that without adding almost any expenses at all. So that's just like an extra 100K, right? It's not like 100K of which I get 10. Do you know what I mean? So it's like very meaningful in that sense. Nico says, Southwest Florida, let's meet up. Absolutely, amazing. Sustainable. Exactly. And I think that's really the point, is sustainability and scalability. And just to note that it looks different for everybody. Sometimes it looks like going to 1 million really fast, and there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes it looks like letting yourself grow in a way that serves you, right? And for me, this is what serves me, but I have to care about the bottom line. Okay, so that was just a bonus one. The final one, which is number 4, is serve your people really, really, really well. My business has been completely and entirely built on serving my clients really, really well. Like, I cannot give you better advice than give your clients a tremendous and exceptional experience. And I think that that gets pushed aside in this industry all too often. I feel like most conversations are around how to make the money, and very few conversations are around how to earn the money. And I just can't figure it out, because the way that I make a lot of money is because I'm really good at earning the money. And I don't mean earn in this like way of like self-sacrifice. I mean earn as in like my clients are paying me and I'm gonna give them an exceptional experience, right? And I'm gonna show up for them, and I'm gonna bring a full cup, and I'm going to pour from it, and I'm going to make sure that I'm totally in integrity with that piece of my business, right? Hi, Anna. Yes to treating your clients like queens, 100%. Absolutely. And Nico says a heart-centered focus. Definitely. Like, I think the thing we forget is like your happy clients are truly the foundation on which your business is built. Like, hands down, the most important thing of your business is how much your clients want to sing your praises. That's it. Like, that will make or break everything in your business, right? Raquel says, this live stream and the Happy Thoughts one earlier, thank you. Our pure gold today, thank you. You're legit the only person out here in this industry looking at the whole holistic picture. Oh, thank you, Raquel. I so appreciate that. I really do. So like, for example, I have a mastermind right now that is like high level, or a high level mastermind that is clients that have worked with me for over a year. So they're in a mastermind called Millionaire Makers, right? That I run. And what is so cool, like just to give an example of like the serve your clients really well, is when I look at all 8 of the women that are in there, not only have they worked with me for a year, but obviously this is like now another 6 months, and like we'll probably go far beyond that. And some of them have worked with me for more than a year. And almost every single one of them in there, if not everyone, I'd have to think about that for a second, but started with me with 0 to maybe like 2 or 3 clients, right? And the reason they're in there is because they now have 6-figure businesses, and they can think about scaling to 1 million because they've hit the 6-figure mark and they're ready to move on and think further. But like, what it means to me is that like I keep having repeat clients because I keep serving them really well and helping them get really amazing results, and the energy exchange is there, right? So they're in there because they got served really well, because they know that every time they buy from me, they're going to have a fantastic experience, because they know that like serving them is my top priority, because they know they are literally, like Anna said, going to be treated like queens. Like in that program, they get like one-on-one support, they get mastermind support, they get an email from me literally every day. Like they get strategic planning documents, all of this stuff. Like they are being treated very well, and their success is very important to me. And they know that, and they know how much I care. So they want to keep working with me, right? And I think that's just so important to note, is that like that's the exchange. Like when you serve somebody really well, they keep coming back to you, and that serves you, right? Like everything I get to do in my life is because I have clients that love me and want to keep working with me. Like going on a trip to Switzerland next month, and that's because of my clients. I bought my dog medicine at the vet yesterday, and that's because of my clients. You know what I mean? Like everything is based on that. And so I want to serve at the highest level. And I think that that is the thing that has made my business grow and scale, is that, right? Anna says, happy clients are your biggest asset. Could not agree more. Oh, Anna says, yes, I've been working with you for 3 years and have been loving your insights in every season of my growth and expansion. I love you. It's my pleasure. But like the point is, your clients, like Anna said, are truly your biggest asset. Not only are they going to be the people that market for you and refer you, they're going to be the people that give you testimonials and results that you can talk about. They're the reason I get to get on live stream every week and tell you guys the insights I have and the results they're getting. And like that, I even have 8 clients that I was able to take from 0 to 6 figures. And that's not even all of them, right? Like it's just so important to focus on your clients being the top tier layer of your business. And that's another thing Megan and I said that we were sharing in a live stream we did recently about what the rules are in our business, which is clients first. So like there are no emergencies and problems, and clients first. Like that is how we operate. Like there are no emergencies, but if a client needs something, nothing else is important until that gets figured out, right? And I don't mean that in the way of like I can't get on here and live stream with you guys and market because I have a client message in Basecamp, but I mean that in the way of like we are going to always try to serve them at the highest level. And I really think like getting clients those results and like sticking in those results and staying present with them and like really being there for them and really showing up as a coach is truly the thing that has scaled my business over the last 4 years. And like, if I could look back at anything that has made the biggest difference, like, yes, it's innovation, but the reason I can innovate is because I have clients that are willing to show up and do that with me, right? Like this Millionaire Makers Mastermind, for example, like that felt really innovative. The structure, the daily emails, the one-on-one, the strategic planning documents that we're doing, all of that kind of stuff, right? And the reason I was able to innovate in that way and create a totally new experience for my clients in that way. Oh, also it's a revenue share mastermind, which is like really interesting and something that nobody's doing either. Anyway, I digress. But the reason I was able to do that is because I had clients that were going to say yes to that because they trust me and they believe in me and they know how I'm going to serve them. Like the reason I'm able to innovate is because I've served my clients really well. So I think that those two are just so intrinsically tied together that like your clients' trust in you is what allows you to be even more innovative and grow in that way. Hi, Maggie. Maggie said her call finished early because she had a sales call. So happy to be here to celebrate with you live. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you. Thank you. So huge congratulations to you too. So proud of all the results you've been getting lately. Okay. So those were the 4. Build the container, then work through your mindset. Find neutral. Be fucking innovative. And serve your clients really, really well. And like the bonus number 5 that I think kind of ties all that together, and then I'm going to wrap it up here, is find your power. And it sounds so fucking cheesy, but it's just true. Like the reason I'm able to do all of that I'm able to serve my clients really well, that I'm able to be innovative, that I can find neutral, that I can build the container and then work on my mindset, is because I stand in my power and I trust myself to do those things. Is because I don't spend a ton of time going, but do I know enough? Am I sure? What about this? Maybe somebody else knows better, all of that kind of stuff. Like you have to be fully in your power to be able to do all of those things. Quite honestly, it's why a lot of my clients get really amazing results, because I do my own work and I stay in my power. And so when they're having a difficult time, I can stand with them through it. It's why I'm able to be innovative, because I'm not fucking scared that I'm going to fall on my face. Like whatever, I'm powerful. If I do, I'll get back up. Right? It's why I'm able to find neutral, because like I'm powerful and I can shift my state and my emotions and my energy. It's why I'm able to find ease in my business, because I trust myself and I'm in my power. And I just could not stress that enough. Like that is the thing that lets you do all of those things. Like those 4 are important lessons, but if you're not staying in your power really consistently in your business, you can't do those things, right? Maggie says, I stand in my power and trust myself. That is everything. It really is. And like, I think, you know, secondarily, and then I don't beat myself up if something, you know, doesn't work, or if I'm knocked out of my power for a minute, I just keep getting back in it. Right? Like all of the innovation I've done is because I felt powerful. Like being able to do the sales mastermind in the way I did, and the partnership and the revenue share, and the mastermind with the revenue share, and the podcast. Like, fuck, oh my God, that podcast. Do you know how much I have to stand in my power to be able to like coach live and share all 6 months of it? Like so much, right? And so my call to you is, if you're listening to this, yes, do all 4 of those things, but oh my gosh, if you can find your own empowerment in your business, everything will change. It's like that point of, you know, do you want to create your own thing, or do you want to franchise a Chick-fil-A? Right? Again, no shame in that game. But if you're not coming from that powerful place, you're always going to want to default to like, but I just want someone to tell me what to do. I just want more accountability. I just want the 3-step system. I just want whatever. If you get into that power place, you're like, I want to do this my way. I'm going to figure out what works for me. I'm going to take what I can learn from other people, and I'm going to apply it to me and my business and my unique skills and strengths, right? And that's when the tide starts to turn. And that's when you have permission to do all 4 of the things I just mentioned. And by permission, I mean you give it to yourself, right? And so if there is one thing that has been the thread that has tied the last 4 years together, it has been that. And it has been making that the work, is constantly staying in my power, right? And it's not easy. Like, I really hate to like sit up here and be like, just stand in your power, yo. Okay, happy 4 years, bye. Like, I get that it is so hard, but it's the most meaningful and, quite honestly, non-negotiable thing you can do if you really want to scale, if you really want to grow, if you really want to build a business based on your mission, your message, and what serves you and what fits you the most, right? Like, I can't stress that enough, and I couldn't have done anything I've done over the last 4 years without that. But it takes work. I mean, you guys know this because I talk about it all the time. It takes daily mindset work. It takes finding that place inside myself all the time. It takes being that person. And of course, it gets easier and easier, right? I think that's just natural. But if I stopped doing the work on that, I guarantee you I would be out of my power most of the time, because I think that's just kind of what our default setting is, right? And so I think that, how do I want to say it? I think that it can feel like the cheesy work. And I always joke with people in my sales mastermind about how, like, the thing I'm most proud of in the work I do with my clients is empowering them. And it's the thing that nobody wants to buy. But what I mean is, because it can seem so like kind of like woo and airy fairy and cheesy, and you're like, just tell me the exact strategy you used to scale over the last 4 years. And like that kind of is it. I stayed in my power, and I made choices from that place, and I acted from that place, and I innovated from that place, and I served my clients from that place. And so it is kind of the strategy, you know what I mean? Doesn't mean there weren't micro strategies underneath that, and it doesn't mean I didn't make strategic decisions. Of course, we talked about that earlier. But the power piece, y'all, it's just the thing. So I think I mentioned earlier, like, if you need the right support to be able to do that, you need a coach that will hold your feet to the fire to innovate and do it your way. And you need a coach that will hold your feet to the fire to stand in your power. I see so many coaches and courses in our industry that will be quick to take your power, and will just tell you what to do, and will just tell you what to say, and will just tell you how to say it, and will just keep taking your power. And I feel like my job as a coach is to keep giving it back to my clients. Like, well, what feels good to you? Well, what's your innovative idea? How are we going to do it like this? And like, of course it's a co-creation, but like, you don't want to give your power away to a course or a coach or anyone else. You want somebody that is going to help you stand in your power and reflect that to you at every moment of every day, every chance they get. right? And that will make the biggest difference. So I hope this was helpful. Hey, Jessica. Jessica says, I really appreciate your calling out the power of standing in your power. That's a good way to say it. The power of standing in your power is like pretty much a non-negotiable, and is kind of the magic that makes all of the other magic that we talked about happen. So thank you guys. Again, I know I said it earlier, and it sounds so cheesy when I try to say it, but like the reason I'm celebrating 4 years is because of all of you. The reason I want to celebrate 4 more years is because of all of you, and every single person on this live stream, and every single person in this community, and every single person that has ever gotten a free thing from A Lit Up Life, paid for something, worked with me one-on-one, been in a mastermind, whatever. I'm just so deeply grateful for all of you. I literally cannot thank you enough. Like, it's what makes me want to get up in the morning. It's what brings fun and joy to my life every single day. And I just could not be more grateful to be at year 4. And I could not be grateful to be in a place where I trust myself so much that I know there's many more years to come, and that I'm so proud of the business we've built that I want to stay in it and create it for many years to come. And I think that that's the gift of being in your power and listening to yourself and doing things your own way, is that you have a business that you just want to show up in every day, and that you just want to grow, and that you just want to build, and you're not looking for, how do I make as much money as quickly as possible so I can get out? Like, that's not how I feel at all. I feel like how grateful I am every day to be doing this. And I hope that's how you feel about your business too. I love you all. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being part of our 4 years. And I hope you all have a beautiful week. Lisa says, love this. Such a powerful message. Thank you, Lisa. Ramona says, I love that you talk about owning your power and innovation. Yes, like the 2 most important things. I love you, Maggie. Thank you guys. Have a beautiful week. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.